Tonight, I'm here with Scott Milne, IFBB Pro. You can also check out his page. We're sharing the link on the feed. And I'm here with Paulie O'Byrne, also 1 in 5 is his page. We're sharing that link. Tonight, we're here to talk to you guys about anxiety and depression and the common symptoms, causes, and fears. We're following for you guys that aren't familiar with what we do on Sundays, we're following a 15-week course that's by Lucinda Bassett from the Midwest Center, and you can find that at stresscenter.com. And obviously, we can't sort of give you all the information. It is copyright. So we can go through it and kind of explain what we took away from it, and that's what we're planning to do with you guys. So both Scott and Paulie and myself have listened to the first week of the course, which is which I guess we'll just go through and get into.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have some notes here we can talk about, but let's start here with maybe what anxiety and depression are. So, I guess we can start by saying that, what did you guys think when she started the whole CD, Lucinda Bassett, and she started saying things like, the world is more vulnerable than ever before with war and global warming and AIDS and cancer. And then she said that there's so much to worry about with so little control. Like, how did that make you guys feel, just that statement alone?
Well, it's a powerful statement.
Yeah.
Sure. I don't know if you guys felt that, but like, if you think about it in our own personal lives, we have a ton to worry about. And then on the outside, we also have a ton to worry about like, as we're in a judgmental society, right?
100%.
That like people are, we're worried about our image. We're worried about what other people think of us. And like, if you don't have anxiety, that probably gives you anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's just a powerful statement that we're in an anxiety-driven society right now.
100%.
It's scary, right?
Yeah.
It's a scary thing to think about.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was a really honest statement, especially, again, the younger generations are feeling more and more of it. You know, because they're not given the tools to communicate like normally, because everything's just through a tablet or a phone, right?
Yeah.
So just not being able to have conversations with people and talk to them, I think creates more anxiety. And then their expectations and the low self-esteem, I think, is really like prevalent in younger generations, because they're trying to live up to perceived expectations and you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And we get into that a little bit deeper when we talk about sort of the self-image and how human connections are made. When we were younger, we didn't have all the sort of the social media tools that the younger generations have, where we can peer in on what the perfect life is supposed to look like, right? And everybody's trying to hit that status of perfection, but you're never going to hit it. Life isn't perfect. You're never going to be perfect. The sooner that you accept that and that you can't control that, I think the better off we're all going to be.
It's almost like a competition though, like with Facebook. Like, everyone just posts, you know, their new thing or their vacation or this and that, but like they don't post anything bad.
No, right? I know. I think
people see that and they're like, oh, well, I've got to post like, oh, what I've done.
Sure.
You know?
Well, I think that what we're trying to do here, and the main goal of this, is we know that there are people that aren't posting on Instagram and aren't posting on Facebook out of fear, and because they might be in such an anxious state that they could be hiding out in their bedroom, but maybe there's just that chance that they're watching this right now, and maybe this will give them the inspiration they need to kind of take that next step and get out there and kind of get comfortable living in an imperfect world.
I think when it comes to like perfection, one thing I learned in recovery was like, don't strive for perfection, like just strive for progress. Like if you can be a little bit better today than you were yesterday, then you're ahead of the crowd, right?
Sure.
And I don't want to be perfect.
No.
Like
perfect is boring, man.
Well, it's too much pressure.
It is too much pressure.
It's a lot of pressure, and I'm never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Ever.
And
I don't know if I want to be.
And is the perfect person really that fucking interesting?
Well, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, well, we know that. We know it doesn't exist, but let's say that the person that people picture being that perfect person.
Like the Kardashians.
Well, we know they're not perfect.
Yeah, they're not perfect.
Yeah, but that's maybe what makes them so interesting.
Yeah.
They might, have the look of what people want to look like. They might have that ideal look, but it's not completely natural, let's be honest, right? Yeah. And they probably still have some work to do in here.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
So anyway, so nowadays, more people are turning to medication and drugs and alcohol for relief from anxiety and depression than ever before. And the problem with that is that some medications can be helpful, but they can also cause a shitload of side effects, right?
Yeah.
I know that when I was taking medication back when I was younger, like the sexual drive was just, sometimes you'd want to be. It was just it was unpredictable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And for me, that was a problem. You want to know what you're getting into when you're with your girlfriend, and if she can't rely on you, that's kind of a
that creates more.
It creates more fighting and friction.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe it helped me kind of be a little more carefree, but I was getting bitched at a hell of a lot more, right?
Right.
Not that obviously we're not encouraging that as something that you do. But what do you guys feel about medication? Have either of you ever been on any medication?
I've been on medication for antipsychotics and anti-anxiety and antidepressants, and what I found with the antidepressants was they made me more depressed.
Really?
I know that's a side effect, but I was suicidal, and I would take these antidepressants or follow the doctor's prescription to take them, and then I would feel more suicidal.
Really?
And so that was super scary.
Sure.
Super, super scary. And then at the same time, I was taking these antipsychotics for sleep.
Yeah.
And it ended up that I had a suicide attempt. I took 80 Seroquels.
Wow.
For the end of my life. And
wow.
that's when I was on an antidepressant. So I'm not saying that medication's bad. Like,
right.
If it works, it works.
Sure.
It just didn't work in my case.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm not alone in that.
No.
That sometimes...
How did you find getting off? Because there's a lot of I didn't research before I went on any kind of anti-anxiety medication and antidepressant. I was on one called Effexor.
Yeah, that's...
And when I tried to get off that, I was like getting like shakes, and I feel like every time I moved my eyes, it was like a camera flashing.
Yeah.
It was like
yeah.
It was fucking it was tough to get off. So being on the medications that I've been on, like research before you go on. Because let's face it, if you're on a medication, that's fine, but you're gonna have potentially depend on that for your whole life.
Yeah.
Unless you make the kind of changes that we're trying to do here and to help you guys get involved in, because it's just like a Band-Aid, right? You can take a pill every day and it might help you get through the day, but unless you make the changes from inside, as soon as you go off that medication, you're essentially the same.
Yeah.
So you might want to research what's gonna happen to you after the medication if you do try to get off of it, because that could be a tough situation for you to go
I think
through.
it'll create more anxiety trying to get off it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
I think that people like it was said in this week's
Audio.
audio tape that sometimes people going on the anxiety medication for the first time, that gives them anxiety.
Yeah.
Right? And that's a scary thing
Because no one wants to take
No one wants to
medication.
take medication.
They get anxiety over taking the
right?
pills.
And then that pill may help you
Sure.
with
sure.
your anxiety, but you have anxiety going into it. And let's get real, anti-anxieties or antidepressants, they take like 21 days at least
To work.
to start working. And
Yeah. You have to be patient.
you have to be patient, right?
Yeah.
It's about faith and patience, I think.
And in that time, I know from my experience, I definitely I self-medicated because I didn't want to wait for the anti-anxiety or antidepressant. So I went straight to fucking boozing, which you're not supposed to do on the medication anyway.
That's a depressant.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you throw in the lines of blow, that probably doesn't help matters, right?
Probably not.
Yeah, but yeah. So what about you, Scott? Have you ever tried any medication?
Yeah, I was on Wellbutrin one time, and I found it helped. Like, I was at a point in my life, like, I'd just been forced back to my parents' house after my arrest. I lost my contract. Like, my whole life had changed, right? And struggling with my identity there. And so, like, I found I needed it. I could tell, like, by some of the symptoms here, like the sadness, like I was crying all the time.
Yeah.
I had no, like, sex drive at all. And, like, I was dating a girl that was, this beautiful girl. And,
So you should have had a sex drive, is kind of what
should
you're
have had a
saying.
sex drive.
Right,
For
okay.
sure.
All right.
Fatigue, like sleep problems, concentration problems, like all that stuff.
Yeah. Sure.
But it helped me. Like,
Well,
it was
can-
only
and it
on
can.
for a period of 3 months, but it got me out of that like crappy stage.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people kind of get into a bit of a funk, and sometimes that medication can help boost you out.
Yeah.
But maybe just like we said, research what it's going to take to get out of there. And in the meantime, you can always be doing the cognitive behavioral therapy, because it can be more effective, longer lasting, and more empowering than medication can be. And even than therapy at times, because it's stuff that you're doing on your own, right? So I mean, when it comes to the realm of coaching, you're really supposed to be asking the questions that bring out the answers from within the person, because we all deeply seatedly know what the right answer is and how we're supposed to heal. It's just a matter of bringing that out within yourself.
I found like nutrition-wise, like
that's a good point too.
Like some like vitamin D, like upping your vitamin D quite a bit, like really helps with like seasonal affective disorder.
Yep. And what about omega fatty acids? Because apparently, if you take more than the recommended dose, it's supposed to make an impact as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Those two.
Okay. So I guess the thing that she really said that made me feel good, because it got scary for a bit, and I think we really want everyone to know we're going to be talking about some things that you might not want to hear, and it might give you feelings of anxiety. I know I had a bit of anxiety today when I was writing this down and kind of going through it. It's triggering a little bit, because you have to now look inside yourself, and you're kind of just, it's hard to face. You're facing a fear. So it might bring up anxiety, but if you're someone that wants to run away from what we're talking about, that's probably a sign you should be listening, because it's the anxiety that's probably doing that.
Yeah.
So maybe just give yourself a chance, give us a chance to kind of see if some of our stories can help people out there, and especially, well, not especially anyone. This is for everyone, but I think 3 men talking about these things, trying to break down the stigma, is a good thing.
Yeah.
So the one thing that Lucinda said that made me feel really great was that the world is still an amazing place, especially when you feel strong and confident on the inside, and when you feel like you're in control of your life and your emotions. Mm-hmm. And that was so that's a good thing to kind of hear if you're struggling right now. And then they said the statistic that about 85% of the people with anxiety had coexisting depression. So that's why it's nice to talk about anxiety and depression at the same time.
That was a big number. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, you didn't realize they were so kind of intertwined.
And then the 15-20% of people go through some degree of depression in their lifetime.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So everybody's dealt with it.
Yeah. If they haven't dealt with it yet, I mean, everybody will experience anxiety. It's part of life.
Right.
Yeah.
But depression, if you haven't experienced it yet, there might be a traumatic event where you do experience it. So it's a good thing to have the tools so that you're ready, you're prepared, right? It's never a bad thing to be taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's, I got a big part out of this week's audio too, is I'm not sure who the guy was, but he was saying that we should be putting this in.
He's the doctor with a background in psychology, but a family physician.
Oh, okay.
Doctor.
Yeah, they're talking about putting it in schools.
Putting it in schools, and I think if I would have had that in my curriculum, at least when I was growing up, at least I would have known that I had tools to deal with this stuff. Because we learn about sexual health. Yeah. Right.
Barely though.
You learn how to put a condom on.
Yeah. Sure.
You learn how to put a condom on a banana.
Yeah.
And you learn about STDs, and that's about it.
And how not to get a woman pregnant.
But we don't teach kids what to do when they're depressed or what to do when they're anxious. And the highest rate of people that have anxiety and depression are teenagers.
Sure.
In school,
yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Why don't we teach that? Why we're in 2017 and why isn't that in the curriculum yet?
Yeah, I think it's time for a change, and I think it's slowly coming. It's transitioning.
Yeah.
But I went to Tony Robbins a month ago, and he said that based on his opinion was that the way that we learn by sitting down is a passive learning environment. It's kind of set back in the times when you were in a factory and you were supposed to be on a line doing the same thing over and over. So the information's coming at you, but you're just sitting there. You're not actively using it for anything.
Yeah.
So you need to start doing these breathing exercises in schools. You need to start teaching kids what the symptoms are, and that's a great segue to go into the symptoms. So some of the symptoms of anxiety, if those of you don't know what anxiety is, if you're feeling anything of a feeling of uneasiness, shakiness, rapid heart rate with heart palpitations, muscle tension, which is often in the back of the neck and shoulders, dizziness can be part of it, feeling of uneasiness in your stomachs, or feeling something bad is about to happen. So that feeling of impending doom, or always, having that, the fight or flight response is a big one. That's kind of the triggering system for anxiety. So when you feel that, there's a fight or flight response, it was a great thing once upon a time, but our brains are from a primitive time.
Right.
We're not going to be attacked by a fucking saber-toothed tiger anytime soon, I would hope.
I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope
So
not.
when you're just sitting there, especially when we're talking, let's relate this back to kids in school. When you're sitting there and you're getting project upon project piled on you, it's not a life or death situation, but we treat it that way.
Right.
We treat it as though it's going to fucking kill us.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is that it's just a little bit of paperwork. But
I think because we put so much pressure on that perfectionism, right? That
Yeah.
like, you have to get 90s, you have to get
Yeah.
that. And like, I'm telling you right now, I got into college on 51.
good for you, buddy. And what are your marks now?
And now I got an 85% average
Hey.
like, in college, right? But
yeah.
It's a lot of pressure on all these kids to do so well, like educational pressure, and if they don't reach that, then they feel like they've let their parents down, they feel like they've let their friends down, or whoever put these expectations on them. And I think we just gotta let kids be kids, and if they learn at a certain speed,
Yeah,
then,
everybody is
then
different.
teach them like that, right?
Yeah, everybody grows at a different rate. Do you agree? I mean,
Yeah.
fuck,
Big
man.
time.
I'm almost 34 years old, and I'm just learning how to deal with life properly instead to respond rather than to react, like
Right.
snapping, and just
Yeah.
getting angry. It doesn't solve anything. It actually costs more than it's worth.
When I went to when I went through my rehab program or whatever, I remember making a phone call to a friend of mine and saying like, it doesn't matter if somebody's like hooked on drugs or not. Like somebody could have benefited from that program because there's just life skills.
Yeah,
There's like
absolutely.
communication skills, like meditation, like
Yeah,
how to deal
yeah.
with problems. Not overthink things.
That's the thing. You're absolutely right, Scott. I think that
Because I don't think I was. Well, I know I wasn't given the proper tools to like deal with feelings and emotions and like how to
like growing
talk.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know. I think that's
That's what
something.
led me down my path.
I think that they teach things that are definitely less important than the skills that
Yeah.
we should be focusing on in
Yeah.
schools.
Even with that, like, we haven't been taught the feelings, especially as guys, because we're supposed to be strong. We're
Yeah.
supposed to not show our feelings.
Yeah.
Not be vulnerable. And like us three doing this now is basically saying fuck you to the standard that we,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean, that we have to be strong because it's okay being vulnerable. Like I think it's okay to cry. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger probably has cried in his life.
100% he
You know what I
has.
mean? And
Yeah.
That's normal. Like if you
Yeah.
don't cry,
I cried last night. I
you're
told you
probably-
guys about that.
I cried 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I think
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
I think it's all right. I think it's part of life. If you don't cry, you're pretty fucked up.
You're holding it in
Yeah.
or something's up.
Yeah.
No, I get it. I
Yeah.
mean, well, I think as men, you're right. I think it's becoming, there's a shift happening where we're not expected to have to hide our emotions as
Right.
much.
Yeah.
But I think that there's still definitely a long way to go, and I think that if people could get it fucking right from the beginning, they'd know that talking about this stuff is actually coming from a place of power, not from
Yeah.
a place of weakness.
Right.
Huge.
So if you can stand up and explain sort of what you're going through, whether it's anxiety, whether it's depression, whether you need to take medication, whether you had a shitty past,
Right.
the sooner that you free yourself of that, it is not only is it a freeing feeling, but it's just a powerful feeling,
Right. Yeah.
and it gives you more power.
I think like being vulnerable is the strongest thing that anyone, male or female, can do. Is being vulnerable and talking about your feelings. Right.
Yep.
I think that we built a society, especially I just know from my experience in my home growing up, it was like you don't talk about your feelings, you shove them down deep, you soldier up, and you
Yeah.
get going on. And man, did that ever fuck me up?
Yeah, I know.
Even just that teaching that my family gave me screwed me up into my 30s. You know what I mean? I'm finally learning alternative healing methods that, like, it's okay to talk about being sad, right? It's
Yeah.
okay to talk about your emotions. And at this point, I'm glad I'm at this point that, like, I don't care if you see me cry.
Yeah.
I care
No,
less.
no.
I don't know. I could care less if you're gonna judge me about crying.
Not
you
at
know
all.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Not at all, man. It shows me that you're real. I
Yeah.
like it. I feel more.
Humanity.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel more connected to people that show me what they're going through. I mean, obviously, if you're kind of up and down, we have some work to do.
Right.
But if you're feeling something deeply and you need to express that, by all means, I want to see that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So back to some of the symptoms. We'll keep going. Some of the symptoms were bewilderment or a spacey feeling. I know when I was going through when I had anxiety, a lot of the time, I felt like if there was a lot of stuff coming at me, my mind would almost turn itself off.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever
I get like where I just can't get anything done. I'm stuck.
Yeah, you
like nothing gets done. I have a whole list of things. I'm ready to do it, and then nothing gets done.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I'm more pissed off at the end of the day.
The overwhelming feelings and how to sort of break that down and go at it chunk by chunk.
Yeah.
But that spacey feeling I know all too well.
Oh yeah.
And once upon a time, I was flying airplanes like by myself, solo. I was training to be a pilot, and I was flying airplanes, 250 horsepower, and they're fully aerobatic. So these planes can do spins, they can do loops, they can do you name it. They're and they fall like rocks. So when you're flying an airplane, because I wanted to face this head on, right?
I'd fly in a plane with you.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. I feel a little better about it now, but at that time, when you're just learning and you're on your first solo flight, and you start feeling spacey and you can't remember to, you know, that's why they have checklists, mind you. But at the same time, there's certain things you have to memorize, like airspeeds and things like that.
Right.
Sometimes you're just like, holy fuck, you know.
Hang on.
I remember I had.
Where am I?
Yeah. I had an emergency I had to do an emergency landing in Elliott Lake because I lost my radios one time.
Okay.
And everything went out the window. It was an uncontrolled airport. I don't even think I made a radio call. I just fucking landed the airplane on the runway. So that was probably me shutting down and just trying to make it safe.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, so their explanation is that the mind becomes so overwhelmed and consumed with these feelings of anxiety that it shuts down and slows down right to the point where it can cope. So it kind of zones everything else out and only takes in what's absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
So it's like a survival response.
Right. Yeah.
Which is interesting. Because a teacher could be yelling at you about your homework. You're not listening to the teacher anymore. You're just focused on that spacey feeling in your head.
Exactly, yeah.
So
in the summertime, I had an experience with that. Like, I've never experienced anxiety like that much where it crippled me.
Yeah.
And then one time in the summer when I was dealing with a whole bunch of crap, I couldn't leave my house.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't leave my house. I was so stuck in that moment of fear of what would happen if I face this person that I'm like, wow, like now I know what this feels like.
Yeah.
Like it is real.
Yeah.
It is real.
To have like crippling anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never knew that. And
Yeah.
like, because my, a member of my family has that, and now I understand what she goes through. Like it's real.
Mm-hmm.
And then another time, like there was an article that I got from like I woke up one morning, or before I went to bed, I kind of put it out in the universe, like, how do I deal with this person? Because I knew they had suffered from anxiety. Like, how do I talk to them? Whatever. Or I didn't know what they were dealing with. I didn't know if it was bipolar. I didn't know if it was like.
But you knew something.
Something, right?
Yeah.
And I just didn't know what. And so I kind of put it out there. When I woke up in the morning, my phone went off, and it was an email from this website called Hearts and Harmony, Gillian Hendricks or whatever, those guys.
Yeah.
And it was how anxiety can rob you of your life. And so
Really?
that article pinpointed her exactly.
Wow.
And like it really made it clear to me, and it's exactly that. Like when someone's in that state, they'll do things and say things to hurt people, and they don't even know that they're doing it just to get back to their safe zone.
Yeah.
And they actually say that they detach from reality.
Yeah.
Right?
Sometimes they're so focused on the feelings that they're feeling,
The
they just
fear.
need to try to get back to their safe
so
place.
they'll do anything and everything to get there.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. That's not it's not something to be taken lightly, because I've gone through that too, where it's just like you rudely kind of have to get up and leave a situation. And that was some of my ex-girlfriends will be able to tell you about that, but there was times when I had to like leave situations because I couldn't cope with the feelings, and I just darted.
Right. I think that comes in like personal safety though, right? Like you gotta.
But there was nothing there that was gonna hurt me, right?
Oh,
It
no,
was just
for sure. I think
it was me that was thinking about these things. That
Right. I think I've been in the same headspace where I've had to like deke out, but I think it comes down to like a few things. I don't want this person to see me in this shitty state.
Yeah,
Stigma.
that's a huge one too.
You know what I mean? Stigma.
And stigma and potentially being embarrassed.
Right. For
because
sure.
people with anxiety and often depression, sometimes embarrassment is more a fear than dying for them.
Oh, I hate being embarrassed.
Did you hear on the tape when the guy said, he's like, I was on the balcony and I was afraid I was going to jump off and kill myself. She's like, oh, so you're afraid of dying? He's like, no, I was afraid what people would think at the party.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like,
and that's crazy as that thought.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he's not afraid of dying.
He's afraid what people will think.
Right?
And his mind's kind of playing these tricks on him.
Right.
The lady who, like, in the plane, she was afraid of...
Yeah.
She was afraid of flying, but it wasn't that. She's like, if I knew how to fly the plane, I'd be okay.
Yeah, it was a control thing for her.
Yeah.
So someone else had the control.
Yeah.
and that's the thing. I think we're going to get into that a lot in this course, is the fact that
when you're out of control.
Yeah, exactly. You can't control a lot of the things that you potentially think you can control. You can't control other people. You can't control the weather. You can't control a lot of the things that happen in life. You can only control what goes on in here and how you respond and react to external stimuli, really.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's nothing to be afraid of if you start to feel these things, like the spaciness and some of these symptoms that scare you. It doesn't, I think for me, I felt this too, but a lot of people think like it's a precursor to mental illness. This is just anxiety, and the way that you think has a lot to do with it.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not a precursor to mental illness, so don't be afraid. I know that's easier said than done, but we will kind of take you through the steps that you need to sort of change the way that you think, so that you don't even feel that anymore. Else you laugh about it down the road. So let's go through and discuss some of the symptoms of depression then. Some of the symptoms of depression can be fatigue, so feeling very tired with no energy. Maybe you slept all night and you still feel tired, and you wonder, why should I be feeling like this? I slept all night. But you'll know about this, Scott, but other symptoms that'll kick in will be appetite disturbance, feelings of sadness, tearful with no apparent cause, difficulty concentrating, weight gain, weight loss, and then it goes back to difficulty sleeping. So you can either sleep too much or you can have no sleep. It depends on the person that you are. And you can have trouble focusing with memory loss. And memory loss is a big one for me too, because it gave me more anxiety. I felt like I was losing my mind. And it's just like, now I laugh at it. It's like, you know what, it's just anxiety. I got a bit of that brain fog. Yeah. If I don't remember it now, it doesn't mean I'm going insane.
Right.
It doesn't,
that's where like the confusion comes in. It's like when I was going through depression symptoms without knowing that it was depression, I was so confused.
Yeah.
Like I thought, like, why am I sleeping 2 hours a night and then sleeping 12 hours the next night?
Right.
And then just feeling like shit, basically. But I didn't know what depression was. No one told me that this was depression. So I was like so confused on, like, am I dying?
Yeah.
Like, am I dying from something that I don't know? And really it was just depression. I mean, like, depression is a diagnosis, but I, especially now, try not to live with that definition, right? Like, definitely have some depressive moments, and at least now I'm not so confused about it. Like, I know that it's depression symptoms. I don't think, like you said, like, fuck, am I going crazy here?
Yeah.
Like, and that was a big thing for me when I got diagnosed with depression. It was almost a relief, right? That at least I knew what was going on. I didn't know any solutions on how to fix it at that point. Yeah. But at least I knew what it was, or at least I knew like I have social anxiety. Right. And I would get like
me too,
like freaked out on the city bus. Like I couldn't be on the city bus very much. Or
what about like in a lineup at a grocery store?
I hate grocery shopping. It's the worst.
Yeah.
I would much rather do dishes.
Yeah.
Than, I gotta find a girl that I'll do the dishes and she can do the grocery shopping, and it's not like a domesticated thing. It's just I don't like going to the grocery store. Like,
Fair enough.
Just don't like being around a lot of people. And even when I speak, like, people say, "Oh, you have social anxiety," but you speak in front of like 2,000 people at an event.
But they're not so close to you, crowding your space.
Right, and I say I don't really have to talk to those people afterwards.
Right. Yeah.
So I can look out into a crowd, but I don't. The thing that it's a struggle for me is if I know people in the crowd. Yeah. And I know that they're watching me. Yeah. That's a struggle for me with my anxiety. But if I don't know anyone, it's easy breezy. I get off the stage and say see you later. Right?
I found that too. You and I obviously have different things we talk about. I get up on a stage and talk about sex, but and pass out sex toys. Right. But that's a little different. But it's still, I mean, the same thing. I try to still use this as being your mind as being the most powerful sexual organ that you possess.
Right.
As a segue into making sure that you stay mentally healthy.
Right.
And really focusing on consent. That's a side topic, but I know what you mean, because there's been people that I've known in the audience, and for some reason when people are there watching, I stumble a little bit more.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, why the fuck couldn't they have been there when I did that perfect show, in England or whatever?
Right.
I love grocery shopping.
Do you? Yeah.
Go figure, right?
Yeah, well, everybody's different.
Costco.
You can do my grocery shopping anytime.
Maybe we can exchange tasks somehow.
I'll do the dishes, you do the grocery shopping.
And this is the thing that's going to go back to medication is maybe we should be teaching what the symptoms of anxiety and depression are, because it's becoming so common. so the people know what they're dealing with, because they're bombarding their doctors, wondering what they have, looking for that physical symptom so that they can just fix it or take a pill or fix me, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this takes a little time, this takes a little patience, but it's so much fucking worth it, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one of the things as well, is that people often don't like we touched on this. They get this medication, the doctor says you have anxiety. The first thing you should do is research what anxiety is and get to know it, right? Because the more you know, the more power you have.
Right.
And research the pill that you're being put on as well. That's huge as well. But you're probably going to get anxiety about taking that pill.
Yeah. You probably
It's
think
the
that
stigma.
the first
You're on drugs. Like,
you're right. It's the stigma.
I
And
have to take drugs to be normal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. There is. I think that's becoming less and less. We're in a.
Everybody takes pills.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, people are. Let me kind of rephrase that. Everybody might take pills, but they don't necessarily talk about it. I think more people are starting to open up about what they're taking. I know when I was taking medication, I didn't really tell too many people. If I did, I was drunk or high.
Right. I would tell people that I was doing blow, or that I was drinking a case of beer, but I wouldn't tell them I was taking Effexor.
Isn't that
crazy? Is that really? Like,
yeah,
I like snorted an 8-ball, but I'm not on like 25 milligrams of Effexor. not me.
And that's what
stigma,
we do,
right? Like, that's just pure stigma, which is kind of ridiculous that I would say that.
And we're gonna talk about and we'll talk about stigma in a little more serious context at the end, because Paulie and I have some stories we're gonna share. But right now, we'll keep going through this, all right?
Yeah.
So, incidence of depression tends to increase with age because of body chemistry changes as you age.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so especially the brain chemistry. So it's important to learn these skills early in life, which clearly we're not succeeding at, right?
No.
Right.
So, I mean, and it's clearly linked with depression. So this is something that we should be... It's obviously, you want to treat it at any age. You don't necessarily want to not get treatment for anxiety and depression because you're 80 years old.
Right.
You still have life to live. You want that to be a quality life, but the sooner you learn them, the better. Do you guys agree with that?
Yep.
And we're kind of lacking there?
I think, we are lacking for sure there.
Yeah. Okay. So, kids, this is an interesting fact on the CD. Kids being diagnosed with ADD may actually be struggling with anxiety and depression, because they might actually be fidgeting, having panic attacks, and don't know how to explain them.
Right.
Which I found was interesting, right? Because ADD medication, they're talking about Ritalin specifically in the audio, is being overprescribed. And that's not to say that there definitely are children out there that do have ADD.
Is that like Adderall?
I think so.
It's kind of like Adderall, yeah.
Yeah.
Does it help you concentrate?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think it was Ritalin, and then they kind of switched over to Adderall.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends. The one thing we really have to remember above all of this is remember that this is still a business. I mean, these companies are making major dollars off of shoving these antidepressants and anti-anxiety pills down your throat. If you need them, fucking fantastic that they're there. But if you can try to do something like we're trying to do and get through it naturally, it's probably going to be more long-lasting. And the one thing that I remember really fucked me up was going on vacations. You know how much anxiety I went through one flight because I couldn't remember if I brought my medication with me to Mexico.
So it ruined your vacation?
Yeah, well, I did bring it, but like the whole flight was... I mean, flights in themselves produce anxiety. Yeah. But if you're dependent on a medication and you can't remember if you put that in your carry-on...
You want to jump off the plane.
Or not your carry-on, your actual luggage, but you're sitting in the plane like,
Can I go in the cargo hold?
Yeah. So that can be a bit of an issue too. You don't want to feel like you're kind of held down by that if you can avoid it, right?
For sure.
So again, we talked about not getting the coping skills they need. So anxiety and depression is genetic. So what that means is obviously if you have kids, I think it said 7 times
more likely to have children with anxiety or depression because it's like biochemical, right?
Right.
That's like fascinating to me. And not that I know too much about like my family history, but like it shows me that I'm not the only one, at least in my family, that has this, right?
Maybe you're just one of the ones that admit it.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think I'm definitely the
only one that admits it.
Admits it in the O'Byrne clan, for sure. But I'm glad that I do, right?
Yeah.
And I think that because my family didn't talk about mental illness or, like sexual abuse, we didn't even talk about sex in our house, right? Let alone mental illness. So then when all this stuff happened, I didn't know like how to deal with it. But I have a wicked opportunity here now because I know about the stuff that I can break that chain.
Sure.
Like, and I'm not gonna. Maybe I won't break that chain when I have kids. They may have anxiety or depression, but
you know how to give them the coping.
Give them some tools.
Yeah, and
that's the big thing.
That's huge. Yeah, sure.
I didn't get those tools. Like like I said, I think I told you this on the podcast that I did that. Like when you're sexually abused. And you don't talk about, like, I never had the birds and bees talk with my parents.
Right.
So then I was sexually abused, and I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on here? And I had no idea that happened and that sex was part of that power.
Right.
Like, just because I had a confused kind of thought about what sex was.
Sure.
When I was 13, and I thought I should probably have the birds and bees talk. Like,
I
learned from my neighbor.
Yeah.
Right?
Really?
How
was that?
I don't know if he was the most educated guy. We were lighting cars on fires and like little dinky cars on fires, building forts.
Okay. We're talking about sex.
Well, was your neighbor your same age?
Yeah, we were the same age.
So your neighbor told you about?
Yeah, he obviously knew.
Like he was the pro?
He was the pro. I was just a student, right? I think it's the same guy who taught me how to ride a bike. Right?
Really? So he must know about sex if he knows how to ride a bike.
I think he had a different family dynamic than I did.
Well, that's another thing. I mean, we'll get into the whole sex talk, but these two topics of mental health and sex education that we shy away from, you're more likely to avoid going through them by talking about them, right? Empower your kids with these tools to go through anxiety and depression. Empower them so that they know about their bodies. Right. Call a vagina a vagina.
Right.
You know, call a penis a penis.
Right.
Right?
Don't
I mean,
be like,
unless you're our age, and then you can call it cock and pussy all you want. But this is uncensored, so deal with it. But
sorry, Mom.
Yes. Sorry, Mom.
My mom isn't watching. I'll guarantee that.
My mom isn't either. Yeah, if she was watching, I'd probably censor myself a little more. Oh, your mom is?
I think so.
Oh, sorry about that. Don't alter your medication. Yeah, this is a big one too. So if you are taking medication and anything that we're bringing up, don't alter it by any means. We're not physicians. We're just people talking about our experiences. So you obviously do need to go over these things with your doctor, but just remember your physician is a busy guy, probably way too busy to really focus on you as one individual every time that you're there. So you need to research this stuff. You need to just research what you're putting in your body. Think about some of the things and be self-aware. And I think that's kind of the key points that we need to go through there, right?
It took my family, one of my family members, like 3 years to finally get a diagnosis.
Really?
Wow.
With their daughter, yeah.
Wow.
Was there like misdiagnosis, or
think that happens.
just like no diagnosis at all?
Well, it was like, just bad behavior, your bad parents, they're just going through bad,
And then a diagnosis.
Yeah.
See, I think that
that's
You
crazy.
guys are crazy, you know.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think that happens a lot though.
Yeah.
I think that.
But that was before. Okay, that was still before like mental illness and anxiety really started to come in the public eye. That it was a disease, right?
Yeah.
So
and I think that these days we are lucky enough that because anxiety and depression are becoming sort of more talked about and more apparent, it's being looked for more by physicians as well.
Right.
So that's a good thing. It's a good thing that they're not just sort of misdiagnosing. Maybe they're kind of looking for this stuff ahead of time.
Do you think, though, the doctors, like you said before, like this is a moneymaker, right? Do you think the doctors, by prescribing this, are taking a little cut of that?
I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know.
More so in the States, I think, than in Canada.
Yeah, I don't think that happens in Canada.
No.
Because we push so much, or they do, they push it out, right? And it's a moneymaker for sure, but only 7% of healthcare budget goes to mental health.
Yeah,
but
that's
we
ridiculous.
Push all this, and they make millions of dollars off of Effexor and Prozac and stuff like that. Yet 7% only goes to mental illness or lack of funds.
You have to remember, like I think when doctors are going to school, like they're not taught to figure out the problem. They're just taught to mask like what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So you're in pain, so here's some perks, right?
Yeah.
That
doesn't happen as much. Yeah. Yeah.
That's being controlled more.
Yeah.
I sometimes call it like the white jacket drug dealer and the jean jacket drug dealer, right?
Yeah,
like who do you want to go to better? Sometimes I used to think like I'm going to the jean jacket before I go to the white jacket.
Right.
Because they know more.
Because they know more at least.
Sometimes,
I don't do that anymore. I'm like, like,
we're not recommending that.
I don't recommend that at all.
No, not at all. I agree. I think that it's just the point we need to get across. I mean, we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. doctors are like anyone else. If they're a good doctor and a good person, they're going to take care of you.
Yeah.
There's shady people in that industry as well.
I bet you there is.
So, I mean, just make sure that you're well informed about medications before taking them, and putting anything like that in your body, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
It is a responsibility.
Yeah. I mean, Scott puts good things in his body nutrition-wise, right?
Sometimes. Perception.
Oh, yeah, perception, right? Okay. Well, at least we're being honest here. So much, this is the thing that's really key too, is that so much of anxiety and depression is actually caused by the way that we react to the outside world.
Right.
So behavior modification is an approach that's kind of been used and validated over a long period of time to treat anxiety and depressive illness. And it teaches people to alter their behavior and eventually impacts the way that they start to think. It obviously takes time and an expert set of instructions, which we're following here. So we already talked about if a professional puts you on medication, but nothing will happen. They'll be the same as they were, and we talked about that. And it becomes a revolving door, unfortunately. So what they mean is when they say it's a revolving door, when you're constantly dependent on a medication. There's certain medications where you'll get enough of them, but you're constantly going back to that doctor to get refills, right? It becomes a lifestyle.
You betcha.
So, and I remember going there and getting refills and having to go in and see them every time, even though you knew it was just for a refill.
Right. I think that comes with like acceptance, though, right? Like once you accept that you live with a mental illness and you're not stigmatizing yourself, it makes it. For me personally, I think it makes it easier to go in and say, hey, like I need this to live. I need this to function, right? But before you have that acceptance, it sucks, right?
Yeah.
Like it's stigmatizing to go into your doctor and say, hey, I'm back. But I think once the acceptance comes that like, hey, I live with depression, or hey, I live with anxiety and I need this to function, like I think that acceptance is a big part in like moving forward and being okay with taking medication. Like I was just never okay with saying to my doctor, hey, I'm suicidal and you're giving me medication to not be suicidal. I was scared to say that to him.
Yeah.
And then I like got some acceptance and said like, what else do you have? Like I need something else. I need a different.
This isn't working.
So we discovered that SSRIs like aren't good for me.
Yeah.
So like a natural thing's gonna work. And I'm just like really into like holistic treatments now, like meditation, yoga. Just like being in the moment, kind of getting, I call it like going into the Zen zone, right?
Yeah.
And like that helps, right?
Yeah.
Because medication didn't work for me and I wasn't going to give up like there. I wasn't going to say, well, medication doesn't work, I'm fucked.
Right.
Like
no. There's other, that's the thing.
There's so many other
there's always a choice and always an alternative. So if you're one of those people out there that's going from medication to medication to medication, just know that there is alternatives, and you're not like if it's not working, you're not totally out of options.
Stay resilient. I like some people call it stubborn, and I call it resilience, right? Like I knew that suicide wasn't an option anymore. Like it didn't. I tried 3 times and it didn't work.
Right.
So I needed to like get busy, like they say on the Shawshank Redemption, right?
Yeah.
Like, get busy living or get busy dying.
Yeah.
And I needed to get busy living.
Sure.
So I needed to find other, and I found that holistic treatments really work for me.
Good. Good.
And it's so far it's doing well.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, we're obviously glad to hear that, right?
Yeah.
And again, I mean, Paulie found what works for him. You have to find what works for you. But the thing is, there are common personality traits between everyone that suffers from anxiety and or depression. So some of those personality traits can be perfectionists, overreactors, negative thinkers, catastrophizers, what if thinkers, worriers.
Guilt.
Yep, exactly. Guilt's a big one. And many are also hypochondriacs, which is kind of the quality of being a sensitive person, because you're sort of, when you're around people and they're talking about something they have, then you might be like, oh, maybe I have that too, right? You're just very like sensitive, really is the word.
Yeah.
But do you guys find that you had to deal with any of those personality traits growing up? Like, well, what I mean by that is, were your parents, like I know my dad is a perfectionist, and I think that there was some overreacting that took place, and they might call it being real, but I would call it negative thinking.
I grew up in a military house. There's constant negativity.
So there's negative reinforcement.
Yeah, there's negative reinforcement.
What, imperfectionism?
Imperfection. Like I always say this even when I speak. I've never scored 10 goals in a game, but if I did, hypothetically, if I scored 10 goals in a game, my dad would say, "Why didn't you get 11?"
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Never good enough.
I
Yeah.
was never good enough. I scored one hat trick my entire hockey career. It was when I was 19. My dad was at the game and he said, "You had 5 or 6 chances."
Really?
I'm like, "Man, I got my ever first hat trick ever." And he said, "Yeah, you had 5 or 6 chances."
Yeah.
So
Like,
it
I
was
can
looked as
just
a
be
negative.
happy for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I scored 3 goals
Yeah.
in one, man. Like, just
Yeah.
be happy for me.
And that's just, and that's, I mean, I'm sure that's just the way that kind of they were programmed
Yeah,
along the
yeah.
way too, right? It's
I
not,
think my grandparents raised my dad.
yeah.
Right, so like I put my grandparents on a pedestal, right?
Yeah.
'Cause I thought that they were like God.
Sure.
I couldn't ever picture them treating my dad the way that my dad treated me.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't want to think that, but
Right.
like someone raised them.
Yeah,
Do you know what
yeah,
I mean? Someone
yeah.
taught them that.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think the military was all influence on that. I think there's a lot of family stuff with that. I think the military helped with that negative
Sure.
impact, right?
Yeah.
That negative like reinforcement, but
Yeah, and I think that that I don't think it's any fault of the parents, right? I think it's they just don't realize they didn't
Right.
learn these tools.
right, exactly.
So how can they even really look inside to
Right.
see what was going on?
Yeah, that was
I think,
in the 50s too, right?
yeah.
That's
So
a
things are
long time.
definitely different,
Yeah.
right? But I remember the same thing. I remember my dad, God bless him, love him, and he tries. He's an amazing father, and he tries his best. Every
Right.
parent does, I think, for the most part. But I remember one time, and he was kind of joking, but I remember I got like 96% on an exam, and he's like, "Where were the other 4%?" I was like, "Oh, you did."
Oh, you did.
Yeah, you went there.
Uh,
But yeah, so I know what that like. I mean, what about in your household, perfectionism and
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit. I think
it was.
your dad and my dad are both physicians, so it kind of is. They have to be in a way. It's part of their
Yeah.
job, kind of.
Yeah,
to think
you
that
want
way.
them to be.
You want them to be, yeah.
They'd be
So I don't
perfect.
blame him at
You
all.
want
That's a
them to be
good
the
thing.
60%ers.
Yeah, exactly. So some of the other common personality traits are often irritable, have mood swings, and if you can recognize yourself in any of these traits, then obviously every Sunday tuning in with us will
Yeah.
be good for you. So that's a good thing. There's a positive here.
Like, I know I had, obviously, I talked in my podcast, the low self-esteem, low self-worth,
Yeah.
fear, shamefulness, like the what ifs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The what if
always
thinking.
worrying, and then I was extremely sensitive, empathetic, and
Yeah. And you internalize that, right? Did you
Yeah.
do that? Because I know I did that. I
yeah,
did really.
I internalized it.
And criticism was really tough for me to take. I
Yeah,
think about it
took
all
it
night,
personally.
and yeah, take it very
Didn't
personally.
like that.
oh, yeah.
No, for sure. And I guess that's kind of where we're going with that. But to someone who's highly... So this is what we're going to try to do here. That's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to teach someone that's all of the traits above to become someone who's highly creative with a lot of potential.
Yeah.
So the main thing that they focus on is that if you're sensitive and you are sensitive and you are creative, but we need to turn the traits outward, because when you focus them inward, your
That's
imagine
when it's bad.
yeah, like your imagination can go into overdrive, and that's when they get into the what if thinking
Right.
and thinking and catastrophizing and thinking the worst.
Mm.
But if you're focused on the outside world and you turn all these traits out there, the world becomes a bright, shiny place again.
Oh, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, yeah.
For sure.
So, and that's where they say if you turn them inside, if you're dealing with all this stuff and you keep focusing on bringing it inside and internalizing it, that's when you make yourself sick.
I think with that, I watched. Have you watched that Netflix thing with Tony Robbins? I think that's so wild that you see Tony.
Yeah, I know, he
I'm
was
Not Your
awesome.
Guru.
Yeah,
Have you seen
yeah,
that?
yeah, oh, yeah, absolutely. That's the first time I realized he started swearing.
Oh,
So I became okay with, what,
Yeah.
we're gonna say, we're just gonna be fucking real
Right.
and be able to swear and say whatever we want.
the best thing I heard on that, and if you get a chance, watch this. I'm Not Your Guru. He said, as soon as you know that life is happening for you and not to you, your life is going to change. And
Yeah.
now I look at that and I think all the shitty things that have happened in my life have happened for me.
Right.
To reach this point so that we can talk about it, right? Like if I still thought, if I had an internal locus of control that thought all this stuff happened to me, poor me, I would say pour me another drink, really, and I would be drinking, right?
Like a victim mentality.
Right. And
Yeah.
I'm so beyond, or I think that I'm so beyond that victim mentality that I have accepted that this stuff has happened for me, and I think it's for a bigger purpose. And maybe doing a podcast every Sunday night with my new buddies.
Yeah, sure.
Is why it happened.
Yeah.
Sure. How cool is that?
It's very cool.
I don't regret the things that I've done, and I don't sure they were awful, and I would have rather not gone through them.
Yeah, me too.
But I went through them, and I think that they happened for me, and I think that that's going to lead to success and being a productive member of society. I'm going to be successful because I'm like determined to, not because I'm destined to be successful, because I'm fucking determined.
And let's
but it made you who you are today.
Yeah.
And now you're passionate about something that's really going to make a difference in the world.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's something to be proud of.
That's very true.
And when you say success, your version of success is probably a lot different than other people's, because your success is making an impact.
Right.
Whereas a lot of people think success, again, old school way of thinking, everybody needs to eat and survive, but getting more and more and more of something is not the key to happiness.
What you have.
You can still be the most anxious fucker out there driving a Lamborghini.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd rather make an impact than impress anyone.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I mean? Like, I would so much rather make an impact and have no friends than try to impress a whole bunch of people that really aren't my friends, that are, it's just a superficial kind of thing, right?
And I think a lot of this, when we talk about the program, we're going to get into the fears, so that's a great point, because a lot of the fears, we're not really afraid to be ourselves. This is a big step. I still get a little bit of anxiety every time. I mean, I know we're just looking at iPads, but there's a lot of people that could potentially be watching on the other side. And that's a fucking amazing thing, but it's also a lot of people that could be judging. So eventually, the old version of myself, sometimes you flip back to that real quick and you think like, oh, what will they think? And then you snap out of it and you realize, you know what, I don't give a shit what anyone thinks. If I'm being me and I'm being authentic, the people that we're gonna attract just from that alone are the people that need to watch.
Right, that's exactly it.
So
I forget that all these other people are watching. I just think it's you and I.
Well, yeah, you know what? That's the best part about this though, is because it's real. It's real, and this is a conversation. We're just putting cameras on conversations that we'd have if we were just sitting at the table. But some of the fears of the people, like us, people that have gone through anxiety and depression or are going through anxiety and depression, you're worried about losing your mind, worried that you may go crazy, worried that you're going to die, and we're all worried about that. That's a common thing. I don't think everybody really truly gets over that unless you're enlightened in your Buddha. Fear of embarrassment, that was a big one. We talked about that. Afraid someone is going to see them out of control, and that mortifies people. So, for example, I think that's we touched on that with you, Scott, just recently when you said they don't realize that they have to get out of the situation. They might not realize what they're saying because they're focused on leaving. They might not want people to see them in that state because they're not in control. They're not in control of it, and that scares them that people would have that opinion of them.
Or if they're not in control of their emotions and like their decision-making skills, right? That'll stop them from doing stuff and like you know, being in the moment and enjoying life.
Right. Yeah, the anxiety is really bad for taking you out of the moment.
You
just get stuck in your head and you're missing all
the what ifs.
And the what ifs, and it's a terrible feeling. And I really am compassionate towards anyone that's going through that, because I know what it's like. I've been there, man. And like, I don't know how bad it was for you guys, but for me, it was fucking crippling at times.
For me it was.
So seeing like the person that it was going through it, that was really close. It was now that I know what it was, like I understand it more. I wish I would have had this understanding then. Because it would have changed a lot. Would have changed how I reacted to her and things that I was doing in my life that caused her anxiety.
Well, everybody learns at the proper time, obviously. I think we're all believers that everything kind of happens when it's supposed to, and for a reason. And so there's obviously a reason that we're all here today, and you know, there's obviously some regret in the fact that, it would have been great to realize all of this stuff 10 years ago, but better now than 10 years later.
Maybe we weren't ready.
Maybe we weren't ready, and there's lots of people. There's lots of people out there that are dealing with relationships, because we're focusing on a woman that I'm assuming you were dating or a friend or something, right?
I was dating.
So there's lots of people in relationships where they don't understand what the person's going through. And if they don't have these tools, the relationship is going to be a disaster.
It's toxic.
It's
completely toxic.
Because they don't get it. And they're not willing. If they're not willing to try, that's a fucking problem. Then you need to leave.
I think that when it comes to that people are more interested in being understood than being understanding. Do you know, like I have dealt with in a relationship with someone that just doesn't understand my mental illness, and that made it super toxic, right? She wanted to be understood all the time, and I thought that maybe she should be more understanding about where, like, and I tried to be understanding with her, and that's why it, you know, basically ended, is because we weren't understanding. We were just begging to be understood.
Both of you were kind of begging?
Well, I'll take fault on that for sure. Like, I didn't know how to deal with someone who had no information on mental illness.
Right.
And she didn't know how to deal with someone because she'd never been with someone who had a mental illness, right?
Right.
Post-traumatic stress especially was like a tough thing for her to understand. And I mean, it's a pretty complex thing, but all you got, like, go on Google.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and figure out what post-traumatic stress is and the symptoms and, like, what happens with that. And I have post-traumatic stress from being sexually abused. And, like, you can go to websites and see
And learn.
learn what that stuff is. And I think that if you love someone, then that's what you'll do.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think that's not a really hard thing to do. If you really love someone, that you'll be understanding that way.
And get all the knowledge that you can to try to help.
Just to be a supportive partner.
I had a girl that I was dating, like, for quite a long time, like 7 years, and she went and took a course on addiction just so she could better understand me. And
Cool.
like,
That was a good step.
Yeah.
Did you appreciate that?
Oh yeah, big time.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then, like, other people with anxiety, we're talking about. We focused on embarrassment and embarrassing themselves in front of others. People with anxiety can become so sensitive that they actually get embarrassed for other people.
Yeah.
So I think the example she used on the audio was that if the groom sneezes at a wedding, people will start feeling anxious because they're fucking embarrassed for him, right?
Yeah.
Which I think I can relate to, because I used to be embarrassed for people. Did you ever get embarrassed for anyone?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll keep going with the fears. So some won't get on boats or fly in airplanes. So and eventually, there's also people that have stomach issues with anxiety. So you could get an irritable bowel, or you could get just diarrhea in general. So if there's not a washroom close by, they might not get on the boat. They might not get on the plane because they need a
They
washroom.
don't have that
They don't have that comfort.
It does create a lot of like physical symptoms.
Yeah,
Especially in
absolutely.
the stomach.
Yeah, for sure. And we talked about this as well, but people they feel like they can't control their comings and goings.
Yeah.
They need to feel in control. If you're someone that feels a strong need to be in control in your life, and in control of other people in your life, and in control of the way that you look, and in control of the way that you feel, and in control of the world, you'll learn that true control actually comes from relinquishing all of that.
Yeah.
And that's when you actually have true power and control, when you stop trying to control all that shit.
That article said, interestingly, said the best way to overcome anxiety is just to face it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
Because, like, usually what you think in your head is going to happen, 99% of the time doesn't happen.
No,
right?
no, you
And
create
then
it.
you create this big whatever. Like,
this big thing.
catastrophe,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Catastrophe. You create a catastrophe
You
way
think the
ahead of the
worst,
time. Yeah, you've made
so you just stop doing it.
And that's the thing, is most of the time you've already experienced the worst of it in your mind, so the actual
What's the
experience
worst
is
that
never
can
going to be.
happen? No.
Yeah, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
So self-control and self-confidence can be found sort of with what we're doing here, with cognitive behavioral therapy and behavior modification.
And then meditation really helps too.
Meditation does. And
connecting spiritually and just trusting and having faith and stuff like that.
This is the thing with this program in particular. I went through it, and then I started doing the meditation and Zen as well. So I feel like essentially what this is taking your negative thoughts, transforming them into a positive thought. Mm-hmm. But all of your thoughts, I started to think, and this came with sort of Zen and meditation, I started to think of thoughts as being clouds. So there could be a white cloud passing through a big white bright cloud, or there could be a thunderstorm cloud, right? Okay. Which one are you going to grab onto? If you continually grab onto the right, the bright shiny cloud, that's great. But you need a way to anchor that. So meditation, as we're talking about, is a way to kind of loop that in and ground it, so that you're constantly filling yourself with good, happy, positive thoughts. Not that life's always happy, not that meditation is always going to be happy for you, but it's going to bring you to the present.
Meditation's tough sometimes. Like, I know when I first started meditation, I thought, and I really judged myself because I couldn't go into the Zen zone for 20 minutes, right? I could only do it for 3 minutes, and then I realized, like, that's probably how everyone started, right? Like, that your first time, you might only go into the Zen zone for like 3 minutes. And like, that's okay, and not to judge myself that I'm not Buddha.
Right. You can't become Buddha overnight.
It takes time. I think that was a big thing, like, in this thing, that it takes, like, all this programming or programming of our brain, it doesn't happen overnight.
No.
It's almost like a daily practice.
Yeah.
That it happens over time, and it might take 10 years. Like, it might take 30 years.
Yeah.
Who knows? But just stay patient with it, right?
If you're, I know we're kind of getting off track with the Zen and meditation, but if you start developing a meditation practice, they typically say that you're still a beginner until you're 10 years in.
Yeah.
So yeah, and don't let that scare you, because this is a pretty quick program to transform into a new life.
Yeah.
But life can be shitty sometimes, and you might want to find another practice that helps ground that.
I know I broke down crying every time I got into meditation.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
So much.
That happens a lot. I've done that too. I've sat and I've cried before. It brings up a lot of stuff unexpectedly, right?
Yeah.
But the key is, regardless of any kind of practice, but this in particular, is to be patient and keep an open mind. If you're really a negative thinker, that's great, because some of the negative thinkers benefit the most. A lot of people with this condition aren't even afraid of dying. We talked about that. They're more afraid of embarrassing themselves in front of others and what would others think. And a lot of this behavior is wrapped around what other people think. So in the end, if you're focused on what other people think of you, that's probably an anxiety-producing feeling.
Yeah, that's one for me.
Yeah. I mean,
what people think, or if I fail.
Yeah, sure. And the thing is that we can't control what others are going to think about us. At the end of the day, they either like us or they don't. And yeah, it would be great if everyone liked you, but if they don't, so what? There's lots of people that will.
Yeah.
When it comes to fear like that, I know for me, like when I was in the depths of my depression, I wasn't scared so much of dying. I was scared of dying and still being in pain.
Really?
And I thought, if I do complete a suicide, I'm still going to be in pain, and that scared the shit out of me, that even trying to end my life wouldn't get rid of this pain. And that was kind of what I was going after by thinking about, actively having a plan of suicide, was I need to get rid of this pain. And then this massive thought and this huge fear was, I'm still going to be in pain after this done, and like not only me, but 1,000 other people are going to be in pain, and I'm going to be dead.
Yeah.
And like that scared the shit out of me, and I think that fear saved my life.
Yeah.
Like a few times for sure.
Yeah. So suicide definitely doesn't end the pain. It just kind of transfers it to the people that are still living. Yeah. And that's something that I just kind of was. Well, obviously, I've been dealing with for the past year and a half. But we care about what other people think because of an insecurity of self-image, low self-esteem, and needing too much external validation. And instead of needing to feel your own worth and goodness from in here. And I think that's why I'm worried about the future generations, is because of all this external validation. That's exactly what likes are on Facebook. Right. And I mean, obviously we appreciate them on the podcast.
Yeah, I love them.
But I mean, when you're posting things for the sake of getting attention, like a picture in your underwear or whatever. Yes, the selfies too.
Fitness.
If you need to go to that external validation, you're not getting it from in here. So of course you're going to be anxious. If you stop getting that external validation, you have no validation at all. So you have to keep posting until you get those likes.
These people get anxiety if they can't check Facebook, if their internet goes down. Like
that's true.
They wake up in the morning, the first thing they're on their phone, and then it's the last thing they go do before they go to bed.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Sometimes my phone causes really. I think it goes the other way too, though, because sometimes I get fucking anxious to check my phone in the mornings. I'm like, who the fuck was out before me?
Yeah.
And is going to be messaging me wanting something. I'm going to have to deal with this now, right? Which is fine if it's something that I'm prepared to deal with. But now, come down, have my tea, chill out for a minute, check my phone, and then respond rather than react. If there's something, I'm always worried there might be a fire that needs to be put out. That was conditioned by being a real estate broker, man. There's always a fire that needs to be put out.
I think on the flip side of that too, though, I would still sit and talk with you guys about mental illness, about anxiety and depression if we got no likes.
Oh, that's the thing.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like last week, what did we have? Like
100%.
Like 50 likes or something like that?
Yeah.
We had like 9,000 people watch us.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm not in it for the likes. I'm in it for the people watching us.
Yeah.
So that they're going to talk to someone and we can smash this stigma down and down and down.
Yeah.
It's not about the likes. It's more about the message. Right?
Well, I don't even think it's really about the views. It's about getting one
person.
The reach is fantastic. Like between the three of us, we can get a reach of around between 15 and 20,000 people.
Right.
Which is fantastic. And 9,000 views, that's great. All I care about is getting that one guy, that one person.
People that it makes.
One person that's locked in their bedroom that's not functioning properly.
He's not liking it.
Yeah, no, not at all.
But he might be watching it, right? And how cool
you're right. It's almost about the people that aren't clicking like.
Right.
That you know, I agree.
We appreciate the likes though.
For sure.
Keep liking
100%. And again, with Facebook Live, we will turn this around in a bit. So any of your comments or anything, if you're still watching, I don't know how many people, but if you're watching, we will flip it around. If you have any questions for us, please, by all means. I forgot to mention that in the beginning. But if where were we here? So we care about what other people think because if they don't get it on a regular basis, they start to feel really anxious about it. So that's where the other anxiety is coming from.
Yeah.
Is from people walking around looking for validation in their phones when there could be someone on the street corner just waiting to give them a compliment.
Right.
Yeah.
Or just throw them a smile.
Yeah, just smile. Exactly.
Like just if you're having a shitty day and you see someone smile, like you're either going to think that guy's high on drugs or you're going to smile, right? And that may make you smile anyways.
I saw a really cool post the other day that said the best people in the world are the people that when you make eye contact, they just smile.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It is a good thing, and it is a contagious thing. So everybody has anxiety, and most people experience depression. And a lot of people feel like, I think where a lot of this comes from, and again, this is putting on that, like you say, the armor, and putting it out there with Instagram, where it's your highlight reel. People feel like if others really knew who they were, they wouldn't like them.
Right.
And that's a big fear. So, anyways, we're teaching as we want. We talked about teaching the less important things in school and failing to teach coping mechanisms to deal with life stressors. So, in schools, whether it be high school, public school, university, I think we can all agree that there's work to be done.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Coping skills.
Coping skills, yeah.
I think massive. Like, I think that, like, if us three went in and talked to a high school, we would have an entire high school silent because who expects three guys to go in and talk about mental illness?
And I mean, we might have to censor our swearing and talk a little bit.
But even just the message of being vulnerable enough to talk about that, I think no one's done that yet, right? Like, no one came to my high school and said 1 in 5 people are going to struggle with mental illness, or 1 in 5 guys are going to be sexually abused. No one came to my high school, and so I think that's almost a responsibility of ours that because we're open and we're able to do that it's up to us to do that, right?
Sure.
Like, if we don't do that, we're kind of cheating society a little bit.
100%, and then we could, bring the podcast in there and talk about it as well. But for right now, it's really important over the summer. I know for me, and I think it is for you guys as well. This is the perfect timing to do it, as we talked about last week. Suicide season is coming, and there's no resources when students and kids are out of school. That's it. There's no guidance counselors. There's no counselors at all. They have to either go to their doctors. And I'm not saying we're a substitute for that by any means, but we hope that you find some sense of compassion here and a community of people that are willing to support you and what you're going through.
And we might not be doctors, but we've experienced and we have enough lived experience that if I don't know, I can ask you. Or if someone asks a question you don't know, you can ask me. Or Scott, you know what I mean? Like,
I think between the three of us, our experience is pretty broad, substantial,
right? And I'm okay with if someone reaches out on the Facebook, if someone asks me a question and I don't know the answer, I'm totally okay with saying, hey Scott, do you have an answer for this? And
or we'll find out.
Right.
We have the nice thing is between us, we all have the resources.
I think the big thing with this is like to make people feel comfortable. Right?
Yeah. For sure.
So that they can reach out and there isn't going to be a judgment or stigma.
No, not at all.
I think it's massive when people reach out. I think that's like the strongest thing.
And we appreciate the people that do. I mean, every comment that comes in, I've had a few of them from people I don't even know. Yeah. And they've just been, I really love what you're doing, and we appreciate that because all it takes is that one person.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the things that really I was kind of shocked by is, not really shocked by, but I found it interesting that we need a little stress in our lives, otherwise our lives would be so boring we wouldn't know what to do. Yeah. So it's interesting because, again, it's all about balance, and part of being alive is being stressed, but it's having those little stresses that keep life interesting and then not letting it take you overboard and out of control.
Right. I think stress can be motivating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a drive.
For sure can be a drive.
Sure. So I thought that was really interesting. I was thinking, that's interesting because we try to eliminate all stress in our lives, but you really don't want that.
When I heard that too, I was like, kind of right. Like,
it
would be so boring if we didn't have something driving the bus, right?
Yeah.
I think that stress is one of those things that drives the bus a little bit. Like, but too much stress is a struggle, and not enough stress is boring.
And it's
So what do you wanna
overwhelming.
do, right? Like,
Yeah, and it can be overwhelming.
It's the healthy kind, not the drama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
have a drama-free zone. I have a drama-free zone.
Okay, so we're kind of getting close to the end of the what we listened to, but let's try to breeze through some of this stuff here. So it may not be obvious. You may be going to the doctor complaining of migraine, headaches, or stomach pains. So when you say that it is definitely physical, you may not think that it's anxiety or depression. It might be physical in physical form, and then at that point, you're looking for something that is going to be a quick fix.
Right.
And if it's anxiety and depression, unfortunately, unless you go on medication, you're going to have to just be patient and kind of bear with us.
A good thing or a cool thing, I guess, that I heard a few years ago is that depression is like a physical illness, that it's a dopamine deficiency, and like that's physical.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's mental for sure, like
It's a chemical.
symptom, but it's a chemical imbalance, and that's physical. And I think that maybe eases the mind, or definitely eased my mind, that like it'd be just like if I had diabetes and I didn't take my insulin. It's like me living with depression and not going to therapy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? People that don't take insulin, they're diabetic,
That's
are
true.
going to die.
That's a good
Right?
point.
If I don't get help, if I don't go to therapy for my addiction, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
just the plain and simple truth of it. That like depression's a dopamine deficiency, and I need to find a way to get that dopamine, right? And, and that's either medication, or that's like
Other drugs.
or whatever, right?
Alcohol.
Yeah. Or you can try alternative healing practices, which would work for me, right?
Try the healthy way,
The healthy way. Go for a run, go for a walk.
An interesting point that we will talk about on here at some point in time is that your mind doesn't know the difference between getting addicted to the bad stuff and getting addicted to the good stuff.
Yeah.
So you might as well if you're going to get addicted to something, get addicted to the good stuff. So it's a very common emotional challenge, anxiety and depression. Both anxiety and depression are the most common and prominent emotional disorders in the world today. And the good news is that they're treatable. So obviously use your doctor as a resource if you feel problems are more severe. We are no replacement for, as we said before, we're no replacement for healthcare professionals. We're just additional support and people who have gone through a lot of the things we're going to be discussing. And these topics and discussing these topics can bring about feelings of anxiety, as we mentioned before, because a lot of times people tend to sweep these feelings under the rug so they can just go on about their business. When they start to deal with these topics and start to focus on moment to moment and living in that moment to moment, it can produce anxiety, and anxiety can start to surface. So basically what that means is, as you start to really pinpoint and focus in on some of the issues at hand, of course they're going to be producing anxiety. You're facing a fear.
Yeah.
You're facing something you've been sweeping under the rug that you don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
I think that's the worst thing you can do, sweep it under the rug.
People do it for their whole fucking lives, though.
And then boom, something happens,
Yeah.
and it all
I think
comes out.
society's taught us how to do that, though. Like, I think like I said before, in my house, my dad said, don't talk about your feelings, and that's sweeping it under the rug. And then when the feelings explode and I don't have any tools, I end up having a suicide attempt. I end up self-medicating with like hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of drugs, right?
Yeah, that's a lot.
Man, it was a lot.
Yeah.
I had nothing to show for it, and I spent almost $300,000 on drugs, and I had nothing to show for it. No teeth, looked like a skeleton.
You know what though, dude? You're live, and you have lots to continue with, and lots of stories.
That's it. Yeah,
you got stories.
Yeah, that's definitely it.
But
what a rip.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that the stories can be used for a positive thing, like we're doing here.
For sure.
But then there's also the side of where you go out, get shit-faced, so that you have a story to tell, and it's completely useless some of the time, right? Yeah, I know I've done that many times before in my past. So anyways, back to what we were saying, it's completely normal to feel anxiety surfacing by some of the stuff we talked about. It will pass. Just come in and tune in on Sundays and believe in the process, and it will pass. Usually tapers off and people start to feel good. Believe it or not, you can feel good.
I find the more you talk about it, the better you feel. Like that's how, the big thing I learned about myself is if I kept it inside, that's bad for me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That would make me go self-medicate or do something stupid. But if I talked about it and got it out, like it keeps me healthy, keeps me safe.
Right. So let's talk about some of the misconceptions. And then we're gonna end it there for today, guys. We appreciate people that watched. I hope that you got something out of this, even if it was just a 5-minute view or a 2-minute view. Some of the misconceptions about people with anxiety is they hide in dark houses and peep out from behind the curtains and don't come out. And we've been there at points, right? But a lot of us just have generalized anxiety that may follow us throughout our days and our nights. We may wake up anxious, and some people get it when they get on planes, as we talked about it in cars. Others just get anxious when they wake up in the morning, and others get anxious when they talk in front of people. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's kind of that's all we kind of went through today. But I think we should probably end off on maybe doing should we do a breathing exercise?
I'm okay if
yeah. Sure. So anyone that's kind of feeling anxious right now, let's just do that quick. So just all we're gonna do is we're gonna breathe in through our nose for 2 seconds, and then breathe out through our mouth for 4 seconds. So in through your nose, count 1001, 1002. Out through your mouth, 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. In through your nose, 1001, 1002. Out through your mouth, 1001, 1002, 1003. 1004. And for you guys, if you want to, we're going to continue that for 2 minutes. So you can count on your hands as you do them. You're going to do a total of 10. That's 1 minute. And then these guys are going to continue going. Try to do it for 2 minutes. Anytime that you feel anxious, this is something you can do anywhere. On that note, we'll let these guys finish up. Good job, guys. Good job. So I think that's it. We're going to end it for today. Keep that breathing exercise in mind anytime you get anxious. If you're at the office or whatever, you can step out and do that. In for 2 seconds, out for 4, deep breathing. All right? So we'll end that for today. If you're on Facebook Live with us, we're going to turn it around, and you can ask us anything you want to ask. You guys have anything else to say?
Stay patient. Have faith.
All right. What about
that
you?
definitely calm my heart rate down.
Yeah. You can do it for a minute or two.
Yeah.
And it'll help you. It'll help bring you. Yeah, for sure. So thank you for tuning in, guys. Continue with your breathing exercises. There are many relaxation exercises you can try on YouTube as well. I believe the Lucinda Bassett relaxation tape that we're listening to is on there too. So if you want to try some relaxation, great to listen to before you go to bed. Throughout your day, just remember all it takes is just stepping aside, doing some breathing,